Peace talks in motion. World powers shift and reshape. Change fills the spring air. Welcome to AI News Brew's Week in Review for May 18, 2025, where we bring you comprehensive coverage of the week's most impactful stories from around the globe. In today's podcast, we'll explore dramatic developments in international diplomacy, technological breakthroughs, and significant shifts in global economics. The latest chapter in Ukraine's ongoing conflict presents a familiar pattern of diplomatic overtures mixed with continued hostilities. This week, President Vladimir Putin proposed direct negotiations with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, scheduled for May 15th in Istanbul, a move that echoes similar proposals throughout the past month. However, the sincerity of these diplomatic efforts remains questionable, as Russia has consistently paired peace offerings with aggressive military actions. Just last month, we saw this during the Easter period, when a proposed ceasefire was immediately undermined by over 400 instances of Russian shelling. The pattern continued through late April, when U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy arrived in Moscow for talks, only to be met with renewed drone attacks on Kharkiv. Now, as Putin extends this latest olive branch, Russia has launched what Ukrainian intelligence describes as its largest drone attack since the war began, with 273 drones targeting multiple regions. This mirrors similar actions from early May, when a Russian proposal for negotiations was followed within hours by widespread drone strikes. Adding another layer to this complex diplomatic dance, President Trump has announced plans to speak with both leaders, aiming to broker a ceasefire. This intervention comes at a particularly delicate time, following the recent signing of a landmark U.S. Ukraine mineral resources deal, which may have altered the strategic landscape. As Zelensky demands Putin's personal attendance at the proposed talks, the international community watches with cautious skepticism, well aware of the past month's cycle of promised peace talks, followed by escalated attacks. The question remains whether this latest round of diplomatic efforts will break the pattern or simply add another chapter to this recurring narrative. In a dramatic shift in Middle Eastern diplomacy, President Trump's current regional tour has become a showcase of controversial deal-making and unexpected alliances. The most notable development came during his stop in Saudi Arabia, where Trump met with Syria's new leader, Ahmad al-Sharaa, the first such meeting between American and Syrian leaders in 25 years. This historic encounter was followed by Trump's announcement of plans to lift long-standing U.S. sanctions on Syria, a move that has drawn both praise from regional allies and concern from Israeli officials. Adding to the complexity of the visit, questions have emerged about Qatar's reported offer of a $400 million Boeing jet as a temporary Air Force One replacement, with legal experts warning of potential constitutional violations. The diplomatic whirlwind comes against a backdrop of escalating tensions and delicate negotiations throughout the region. While Trump pushes for a new nuclear deal with Iran, demanding an end to their support of proxy groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, the situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate. Israel's launch of Operation Gideon's Chariots has resulted in over 100 Palestinian casualties in the past 24 hours, prompting the Arab League summit in Baghdad to call for an immediate ceasefire. Meanwhile, Trump's meetings with Gulf Cooperation Council leaders in Riyadh have focused on regional security, oil prices, and the ongoing hostage negotiations in Doha, highlighting the intricate web of interests at play in this pivotal diplomatic mission. The diplomatic crisis between India and Pakistan continues to intensify this week, with several significant developments unfolding. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs has found itself at the center of controversy after being forced to issue a clarification regarding Operation Sindoor, explicitly stating that no advance warning was given to Pakistan, a statement that contradicts earlier diplomatic messaging. This revelation has further strained the already tense relationship between the two nuclear powers. Adding to the complexity of the situation, India's consideration of major water diversions from the Indus River system has emerged as another potential flashpoint. The proposal to double the length of the Ranbir Canal would significantly impact Pakistan's agricultural sector, which heavily depends on the Indus waters. These developments come at a particularly sensitive time, as both nations grapple with the aftermath of recent military operations and their implications for regional stability. In a week marked by significant economic developments, the United States and China have taken steps to ease trade tensions through a landmark 90-day tariff reduction agreement. The deal, which sees U.S. duties dropping from 145% to 30%, and Chinese tariffs falling from 125% to 10%, has injected fresh optimism into global markets. This temporary measure has particularly energized technology stocks, though analysts caution that its short-term nature suggests longer-term trade relationships remain uncertain. Adding to the economic picture, U.S. inflation has reached its lowest point in 4 years, settling at 2.3% in April. This welcome news for consumers includes a notable drop in grocery prices, with egg prices alone falling nearly 13%. However, economists are already warning of potential upward pressure on prices as the effects of various tariff policies begin to materialize in the coming months. The trade landscape could see further upheaval as President Trump has announced plans for unilateral tariff rate adjustments affecting approximately 150 countries in the coming weeks. This follows his earlier Liberation Day tariffs, which included a blanket 10% duty on all imports. The entertainment industry is particularly concerned about a proposed 100% tariff on foreign films, raising complex questions about how to define foreign-made content in today's globally interconnected production environment. As markets digest these developments, traders are now anticipating about 55 basis points of Federal Reserve rate cuts for the year, reflecting the delicate balance between economic growth and trade policy uncertainties. The American education landscape is experiencing significant shifts as we move deeper into 2025, with several controversial developments making headlines this week. In Oklahoma, a notable change to high school history curriculum has sparked intense debate as state officials prepare to introduce new content covering the 2020 election. This modification, directed by Republican School Superintendent Ryan Walters, represents a broader trend of state-level involvement in shaping historical narratives in classrooms. Meanwhile, millions of American students and former students are grappling with uncertainty as the U.S. Education Department announces plans to resume collections on defaulted student loans. This decision affects over 5 million borrowers who are already navigating a complex web of policy changes and limited access to loan servicers. The situation has been further complicated by recent court decisions and reported staffing changes within the education department itself. Adding to the educational sector's challenges, college campuses across the nation are witnessing a resurgence of protests, albeit at a smaller scale than last year's demonstrations. These protests have taken on new significance as the federal government increases its scrutiny of how universities handle campus activism. Several institutions, including Columbia University, have responded by implementing stricter policies, while simultaneously managing the delicate balance between student expression and institutional stability. This evolving situation highlights the complex intersection of education, civil rights, and federal oversight in today's academic environment. The technology landscape between China and the West continues to evolve in fascinating and complex ways. In a significant development, Australian company Lynas has just become the first non-Chinese producer of heavy rare earth elements, marking a potential shift in the global supply chain for these crucial materials. This breakthrough comes at a time when concerns about China's technological influence are mounting, particularly in the renewable energy sector, where U.S. officials have recently discovered undocumented communication devices in Chinese-made power inverters. Meanwhile, the ongoing semiconductor tensions between the United States and China have reached another turning point, with NVIDIA confirming it won't modify its advanced Hopper architecture to accommodate Chinese market restrictions. Instead, the tech giant is pursuing a different strategy by establishing a research and development center in Shanghai, attempting to maintain its foothold in China while navigating strict U.S. export controls. This move comes as Chinese companies like Huawei are gaining ground in the domestic AI chip market, filling the void left by restricted access to advanced Western technology. These developments paint a picture of a rapidly changing technological landscape, where concerns about security and supply chain independence are reshaping global business strategies. The discovery of undisclosed cellular radios in Chinese power inverters has particularly alarmed U.S. energy officials, as these components play a crucial role in renewable energy infrastructure. As nations grapple with technological interdependence and security concerns, we're seeing a clear trend toward diversification of supply chains and increased scrutiny of critical infrastructure components. In a groundbreaking medical achievement, doctors at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia have successfully used an innovative gene editing technology to treat a newborn with a rare and potentially fatal genetic disorder. The revolutionary treatment, which marks a world first, relies on CRISPR, which stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats. If that sounds complicated, think of CRISPR as a highly precise genetic scissors that allows doctors to edit DNA with remarkable accuracy, much like using a word processor to correct spelling errors in a document. The patient, baby KJ Muldoon, was diagnosed with a severe condition known as CPS1 deficiency, an extremely rare genetic disorder that, if left untreated, can be fatal. This breakthrough represents a remarkable step forward in applying genetic medicine to help our youngest and most vulnerable patients. While traditional treatments for genetic disorders often focus on managing symptoms, CRISPR technology allows doctors to address the root cause by directly correcting the problematic genes. The success in Philadelphia positions the city at the forefront of genetic medicine and opens up exciting possibilities for treating various genetic disorders in newborns worldwide. However, medical experts emphasize that while this achievement is certainly cause for celebration, they'll continue monitoring the long-term effects of the treatment. This careful approach ensures that as we push the boundaries of medical science, we do so with the utmost attention to patient safety and well-being. As we conclude our review of this remarkable week, we find ourselves at a fascinating crossroads of global change and possibility. From groundbreaking medical achievements in Philadelphia to shifting diplomatic landscapes in the Middle East, from technological breakthroughs in rare earth production to evolving educational policies across America, we're witnessing a world actively reshaping itself. The week's developments paint a picture of both challenge and opportunity. Peace talks amid conflict in Ukraine, economic cooperation despite trade tensions between global powers, and scientific innovation pushing the boundaries of what's possible in human health. While uncertainties remain, particularly in international relations and economic policies, we're also seeing encouraging signs of progress in areas like medical research and diplomatic engagement. These developments remind us that even in times of transition and tension, human ingenuity and the desire for positive change continue to drive us forward. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining how these various threads weave together, but the spirit of innovation and resilience we've observed this week gives us reason for cautious optimism about the path ahead. Thank you for joining us for this week's review. A special thanks to our supporters who make this independent research and reporting possible. For more in-depth analysis and daily updates, follow AI News Brew on your preferred platform. Until next time, stay informed and engaged.